Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Understanding Our Environment webinar. We're so excited to have you all here tonight to learn about some of the exciting and important environmental programs being run by the Township of the Archipelago. We're going to start in just a few moments, but before we begin, we just wanted to go over a few housekeeping items for this webinar. So we have a number of exciting, great presentations for you tonight. If you have any questions during the presentations, we ask that you please put them into the chat and we will answer as many of them as we can at the end of the webinar after all of the presentations. Please be aware that this webinar is being recorded. It will be shared to our YouTube channel afterwards, and we will send out a link in the follow-up email once it is ready to go. If you have any technical difficulties, we will be monitoring the chat, so please let us know and we will do our best to resolve them. So without further ado, my name is Stacy and I am joined here tonight by a couple of my colleagues here at the Georgian Bay Minidoogami Biosphere, or GBB for short. For those of you who are not familiar with the biosphere and the work that we do, GBB is one of 19 UNESCO designated biosphere regions in Canada and one of more than 700 in the world. The region spans along the eastern coast of Georgian Bay from the French River in the north down to Port Severn in the south and out to about Highway 400 in the east. This area was designated as a biosphere region in large part because of the 30,000 islands, which is the largest freshwater archipelago in the world. This region is home to many unique habitats, species, cultures, and communities. GBB itself is a not-for-profit organization and a registered Canadian charity. In collaboration with partners throughout the biosphere, we work to build a more sustainable region through 4 of our main program areas, which are conservation, culture, climate, and community. Since 2013, the Township of the Archipelago has partnered with GBB to deliver community and environmental programming to ratepayers. The goal of this partnership is to provide high quality and accessible environmental information and programming. So this means working to increase environmental literacy and awareness among ratepayers within the archipelago, as well as increasing capacity to address and respond to environmental issues, challenges, and opportunities. This evening, we'll be sharing a small sample of what this partnership has to offer to ratepayers. But before I pass it along to our first speaker here, I would like to take some time to acknowledge that we are situated within the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and the Williams Treaty of 1923. And we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg Nation. The nation is made up of Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi peoples under the Three Fires Confederacy. These are the original and ongoing caretakers of this land. Where I sit today at GBB's head office is where the Ziguan River meets Minidoogami. We offer our gratitude to the Indigenous peoples for their care for and teachings about this region that we call home. The goal of this webinar here tonight is to learn more about the environment and the stewardship programs offered in the archipelago, and we hope that in sharing this knowledge, we can all come away better equipped to care for the lands and waters, as is all of our duty as treaty people. So just a brief overview of our agenda before we get started. We're going to start with Katrina Crevens from GBB, who's going to talk to us all about the You Be the Judge septic program, as well as water quality monitoring in the archipelago. We'll then pass it on to Margaret Scott from Westwind Forest Stewardship Inc., who's going to talk to us all about forest health. And then we'll close the night with Ben John from GBB, who will talk to us about climate and energy. And then at the very end of all the presentations, we'll have some time for some questions. So with that, I'll pass it on to Katrina.
Great, thanks very much, Stacey. So my name is Katrina Crevens. I'm the Aquatic Conservation Programs Manager with the Georgian Bay Minidoogami Biosphere. And I've been working with the Biosphere since 2016. And in my time with the Biosphere, I've had the pleasure of being a part of the team helping to deliver on TOA environmental programming. So I'm going to start off by talking about septics. This isn't the flashiest topic, but it's certainly an important one. And one of the best ways to protect the environment as a ratepayer in the Township of the Archipelago is to protect the environment and to avoid costly septic issues is to properly maintain the health of your septic system. So a malfunctioning or failed septic system has the potential to have serious negative effects on the surrounding environment, including water quality, which I know is something that's important to many folks in the township. By properly maintaining your septic system, you can save a whole lot of money, you can extend the life of your system, and you can do your part to protect the environment. When it comes to septic system health, being proactive is really critical. Here on the slide, you can see just some examples of key steps you can take to be proactive. There's lots more information on the TOA Septics webpage, but tonight we'll focus in on the last bullet point here, assessing your sludge level. With the right tools, you can easily and effectively assess the sludge level in your septic tank. Last summer, the TOA piloted a new septic screening program called You Be the Judge. This is an entirely voluntary and free program available to all TOA ratepayers. The program provides you with the necessary tools to self-assess the sludge level in your septic tank, which provides you with the information to determine whether A, it's time to pump and you should be calling a professional in, or B, it's not yet time to pump and you can check back in a year or two, saving you money by not prematurely pumping. So how does the program work? So first you register to participate at the septic website on the Archipelago webpage. Then you will either receive the materials from your association volunteer if your association is one that's participating directly in the program, or you can pick up the materials from one of the participating waste transfer station sites. Next, watch the instructional video, which we'll see in just a moment here. And then once you have an understanding of how to use the assessment tool, go ahead and sample your septic tank. Based on the results of your sampling, you'll either have your tank pumped by a professional or reassess in 1 to 2 years. From there, clean and return the sludge sampler to either your association volunteer or the waste transfer site where you borrowed it from, and then fill out a participant survey to provide us with feedback that helps us improve the program and for your chance to win a prize. At present, we have a number of associations that are already a part of the program and more are coming on board. So the Septics webpage will be updated as additional associations are joining on board. If your association is interested, please do reach out. We'll have contact information in the chat where you can reach us. So we'll watch a quick video here to see how to use the sludge judge or septic sampler or sludge sampler. Apologies that the sound might not come through here. It's just music. There's nothing, you're not missing anything important, but we'll have a watch here. So again, just to recap, the You Be the Judge program is entirely voluntary, totally free. Several ratepayer associations are on board with it already, and more are coming on board as we approach spring and summer. And the other location outside of ratepayer associations to receive the materials are a number of waste transfer station sites, and those are listed on the Septic's webpage. Let's now switch gears to water quality monitoring. Water chemistry monitoring in the Township of the Archipelago is done through volunteer participation in the Lake Partner Program, or LPP, as you may have heard it called. LPP is an Ontario-wide publicly funded free program that collects data about total phosphorus, water clarity, calcium, chloride, and most recently, sulfate. These simple tests provide a strong basis for assessing the health of the ecosystem. Water samples that are collected by LPP volunteers in the spring are sent to the Dorset Environmental Science Centre, run by the MECP, for analysis. And then once results are available, the TOA and GBB report out on those results for sites within the township. And we'll talk a little bit more about reporting shortly. A second type of water quality monitoring that happens within the township is something called benthic macroinvertebrate monitoring. Benthic monitoring for short is a type of biological monitoring, much like fish community monitoring. It provides information about how ecosystems respond to stressors, and this is a complementary approach to the water chemistry monitoring through the Lake Partner program. Together, the water chemistry monitoring and the benthic monitoring provide a much more complete picture of aquatic ecosystem health. Benthic macroinvertebrates are small aquatic organisms. They include things like insects, crustaceans, worms, and mollusks. And the term benthic macroinvertebrate can be broken down into its smaller parts to better understand the nature of these organisms. So benthic means bottom dwelling, macro is something that can be seen with the naked eye, and invertebrate means lacking a backbone. These animals are well suited as indicators of water and sediment quality for a number of reasons. They spend most or all of their life cycle, which is typically 1 to 3 years, living in constant contact with the benthic environment in a specific area. So they can't just get up and leave, and therefore they reflect the conditions that they're living in. They're relatively easy and inexpensive to sample, much more so than fish communities. And they have varying tolerances to disturbances and pollution. So a healthy lake will support high richness, meaning a high number of different species, and abundance, the number of individuals. If a lake has low species richness, meaning few different species, and mainly pollution tolerant species, that lake could be impaired. Changes in the benthic community of a lake can indicate changes in the lake ecosystem, whether that be improvements in water quality, habitat alteration, introduction of invasive species, or something else. And finally, benthic macroinvertebrates are a really important part of the aquatic food web of a lake, and many fish species actually rely on them as a food source. Other benthic macroinvertebrates are important for their role in decomposing organic matter. LPP and benthic monitoring results are presented annually, as I mentioned earlier. And until recently, this was in the form of a PDF environment report that also includes forest health information. This PDF report is still available for download on the TOA environment webpage, and it does go into greater detail, but there is also a new ArcGIS story map version of the report. And this is a really quick and easy way to find results for your specific area and to learn about what those results mean. So I'll play a little clip here that shows, oh, no, I won't. Let's see if I can do, there we go. So you can see here, each ratepayer association in the township is listed. You can jump right to your association, either through the scrolling menu on the left or using the map. So here we've clicked on Crane Lake. You scroll down, you see a little bit of an overview on that lake. And then we get into water chemistry. And you can either click to go directly to the results, or you can scroll along and get an understanding of what kind of information is collected, how it's collected. So this, for example, is talking about the Lake Partner program and how volunteers go out and collect those samples. Then there's a section on interpreting the results that you're about to see, so you understand what it is you're looking at and why those things matter. And then you get down into the monitoring results. And where there are multiple sampling sites, you'll see multiple charts, and you can hover above those points and see their values. And then if you continue on and you're on a lake with benthic monitoring happening, same thing, you can click to go directly to the results, see those results there, or take your time reading through to better understand what it is you're reading about. And finally, there's some fish community information from the MNR where that's available. And you'll see a summary of that information. So this is newly available. A great way to jump right to results that you care most about. The PDF report is still available, as I mentioned, and it does go into greater detail. But if you just want a quicker look at your results for your area, the new story map is a great way to do that. And at that point, I will hand it over to Margaret.
Perfect. Thanks, Katrina. Good evening, everyone. My name is Margaret Scott. I'm a registered professional forester working for Westwind Forest Stewardship. Before we dive into forest health, I wanted to briefly talk about Westwind and what we do. So Westwind holds the Sustainable Forest License for the French Severn Forest, which extends roughly from Georgian Bay to Algonquin Park, from French River down to the Severn River. Although this is a large area, we only do forest management on Crown or treaty lands, so we don't do anything in parks, private land, or First Nation land. Something that makes us a bit unique is that we are a not-for-profit company, and we have a board of directors that includes community members, industry members, and an Indigenous representative. We don't actually do any harvesting ourselves, but instead are in charge of forest management planning, overseeing harvest, planting and tending after the harvest, and of course, reporting on all of that. So for the webinar today, Katrina suggested that I talk maybe about a few newer forest health topics that will likely be a concern in the coming years, like oak wilt disease and beech leaf disease. And because it attacks the same tree and has a very similar name, I'm also going to talk about beech bark disease, which we already have in our forest. I also just want to acknowledge that a lot of this information is coming from the MNR, Ontario Forest Research Institute, and other partners. So obviously, huge thanks for their work that I'm going to help today. So next slide. Beech bark disease, or BBD for short, is actually a disease with two non-native causal agents. So first we have that beech scale insect, and then we have the Neonectria canker fungus. The scale insect creates punctures in the bark while feeding, and this makes the tree vulnerable to the fungus. It was first confirmed in Muskoka area back in 2010, kind of near Baysville area, and it's since spread throughout a lot of our forest. And I have a map in a couple slides that I'll show you. Next slide. The mature beech scale insects are actually quite small. They're only about 0.5 to 1 millimeter long with this white woolly wax covering. So it's really difficult to spot the individual insects unless you're looking very closely for them. So you don't often notice until you get a buildup of that beech scale, like the photo on the left, and you can see kind of those clusters of white. Once the disease has moved in, the easiest sign to notice is the red fruiting bodies of the fungus on the bark of the tree. It's easiest to see this in the fall. You'll also see some kind of general signs of beech decline or cankers on the bark. Next slide. So as promised, here's a map of beech bark disease in Ontario from 1999 to 2024. It's a bit small, but I'm hoping you can see the blue triangles are where beech scale has been detected, and the red circles are where the disease has been detected. So as you can see, we have the disease partway up the shore of Georgian Bay, and then the scale even further north. But both the scale and disease are found even further north, up towards North Bay. So it has spread through a lot of our forest. Beech trees are not just important to us, but also to wildlife. And the beech nuts provide great nutrition to bears and other animals. I apologize if you can hear the train behind me. Next slide. So what can we do about it? Trees with beech bark disease can be hazardous if they're near homes or recreational areas. as the large limbs or trunks can break off unpredictably. These should be removed safely before they fall down, as they can risk damage to people or property. If you have a larger woodlot that you're dealing with, you may want to start removing more of your beech trees to give room for trees of other species. You can also start removing some of the young beech tree generation that may be coming in. So you can use brush saws, chainsaws, or there's even some different herbicide options if you're interested. Next slide. Okay, so now we're going to move on to beech leaf disease, and you'll understand that this is beech leaf disease. We were talking about beech bark disease, very similar but different diseases. So beech leaf disease, as of 2024, hasn't been confirmed in our forest, as opposed to beech bark disease, which is already here. This disease is associated with invasive nematodes or microscopic roundworms that leads to leaf deformity in beech trees. It was first detected in 2017 in Elgin County near Lake Erie, but now is found in more of southern Ontario. Next slide. In terms of identifying it, early in the progression of beech leaf disease, you can notice dark green stripes or bands that occur between the lateral veins of the beech leaves. And what I mean there is those are kind of the lines coming off the center line of the tree. Those are the lateral veins, and you'll notice the banding between those veins. And you can see those in the bottom picture there, those dark green stripes. Later symptoms you might notice are thickened leaves that might be deformed, curly, or yellowed, like the leaves on the top. The leaves of the tree may fall earlier than other beech trees. Also, buds may not develop on an infected tree. Sapling-sized or smaller trees may die within the first 2 to 5 years, while older, more mature trees can take longer to show the impact of the disease. Next slide. So this map shows where beech leaf disease has been confirmed in Ontario. The earliest detections are in pink, you can see down by the water there, back in 2017. The most recent 2024 detections are shown in red. And even though it hasn't been confirmed in our forest yet, you can see that down in Simcoe County, to the south of us, they did confirm the presence of beech leaf disease back in 2023. And that's in orange there along the south end of Georgian Bay. Next slide. At this point, unfortunately, there's no cure for beech leaf disease, so it's important that we limit the spread and prevent the infection of new trees. We can do this by not moving beech saplings, firewood, leaf litter, etc. Pretty much if it's beech related, let's not move it to a new area. We also want to inspect trees for the symptoms we talked about. Since we have 2 beech diseases in Ontario, it's probably also a good idea to encourage a diversity of tree species in addition to beech. And then finally, if a tree is found to have the disease, we're going to quarantine that area so it's not spread further. If you happen to find a tree with beech leaf disease, you can report it to EDMAPS. This stands for Early Detection and Distribution Mapping System. And these reports actually get sent to researchers in Ontario. So their website is eddmaps.org. I can get that sent out with the email to everyone. Next slide. Okay, and then the last forest health concern of the day is oak wilt disease. So this is a vascular disease caused by a fungus that affects oak trees. It restricts the flow of water and nutrients through the tree, and it's actually capable of killing oak trees in a single season. It was already present in the USA, but then in 2016, it was confirmed less than a kilometer from Canada. And then since then, in 2023, it was found in the Niagara region and in Springwater Township, which is near Barrie. Thankfully, all potential infected trees were removed and no new detections were made in 2024. Next slide. Some of the signs of oak wilt disease include discoloration of the leaves, progressing from the edge and going towards the middle. You may also see wilting or bronzing of leaves starting from the top of the crown, so the crown being the leafy part of a tree, and progressing downwards. There may also be premature leaf drop in July to September. And then oak wilt disease also produces fungal mats under the bark that have a smell that's been described to me almost as like juicy fruit gum. And these mats can also cause vertical bark cracks in the trunk and large branches that you can see even if you can't see the fungal mats. Next slide. Although oak wilt has not been confirmed here, there were beetle traps set up at one location in our forest on Nipissing Road, along with other locations in Ontario. You can see those as the black dots on the map here. Insect samples were used because a key way that oak wilt is spread is through the movement of insects. So these sap beetles are attracted to that sweet smell of the fungal mats. They can then carry spores to the next healthy tree, deposit the spores into the fresh wounds that they're feeding on. In 2024 and 2025, there were trace amounts of oak wilt environmental DNA, or eDNA, found on the beetles and the traps at the location in our forest. Now, it's really important, if anyone's kind of panicked by that, to note that finding these trace amounts of eDNA does not mean that trees nearby have oak wilt disease. The testing does not distinguish between live and dead samples, and it does not mean there were viable spores of the disease. Okay, so these beetles could have been windblown, come from firewood, or even come from infected trees that are quite far away. So it doesn't mean we have oak wilt disease, but it is an important early detection sign that trees may be able to become infected. And we must remain vigilant for the signs and symptoms of oak wilt in our communities. Next slide. Unfortunately, as with the others, we do not have a cure for oak wilt. So to prevent the spread, again, we're not going to move firewood to help prevent trees from being infected by spores. We're also going to try to avoid pruning or damaging oak trees during the growing season, and especially between April and July when they're most vulnerable. If you find trees that have oak wilt disease, remove them, and also disrupt root connections between these trees and other healthy oak trees. Unfortunately, the disease is spread through root grafting, so getting rid of the tree above ground will not prevent the spread. If you do see oak wilt disease, please report it to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So that's the agency to report that one to. So I realize this is not exactly a good news story when it comes to forest health, so I don't want to be depressing on a bit of a gray day as it is. But I think the more we can use local firewood or other tree products and avoid moving them into new areas, as well as keep an eye out for these diseases and report them if we see them, hopefully we can prevent this further spread and infection of new trees in our forest. So thank you very much, and I'll pass it on to the next speaker.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin John. I'm the Climate and Energy Programs Manager at the Georgian Bay Biosphere, and I'm also a Certified Energy Manager by trade. I'm excited to be here this evening to share a little bit about the climate and energy work that the archipelago has going on, as well as that work that's in collaboration with a number of the neighboring municipalities as well, too. One of the main features of the climate and energy work that the archipelago is involved in is a regional partnership called ICECAP, and that stands for the Integrated Community Energy and Climate Action Plans Partnership. This is a formal partnership, essentially with some of the other municipalities and First Nations in the biosphere region, looking at approaching this work in a more cost-effective way than what would be typically seen if you do it individually. And you can see that as a partnership, there's these 4 shared objectives that are had. That's encouraging the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. We'll touch on that in a second. But to do that, the way we're going about doing that is really through this idea around improved energy efficiency, possibly reducing the use of fossil fuels where it makes sense to do that, and to adapt to a changing climate by building greater resilience. Next slide, please. As I said, ICECAP it's a formal partnership, and there's a lot of members within the area that are participating as part of ICECAP. So you can see that the archipelago, Township of Georgian Bay, Seguin, Whitestone, Parry Sound, McDougall, Carling, Shawniga First Nation, as well as the Biosphere, are all official members of ICECAP and are working towards those shared objectives that I mentioned. And I'll also go into a little bit about how they're doing that work. But we also have other partners that contribute to this work as well within the community. The Parry Sound District Health Unit, for example, utilities support certain components of some of the projects, individual projects that are being done through ICECAP. So there's quite a wide array of industry, local government, public sector support and contributions coming in through ICECAP. Next slide, please. The way that we do that is in go to reach those objectives is we follow this process, this 5 milestone process. And we do it from two perspectives. Well, one we called corporate, which is think of sort of those municipal operations. So it's the buildings and facilities that are owned by the archipelago, the fleet that includes any sort of the snowplows, the building department's vehicles, that sort of thing, any water, wastewater, a couple streetlights in the archipelago, as well as waste. Within the community side, that's focused on looking at residential, commercial, industrial sector, community transportation, and waste. But the way you go about doing that is, again, as I said, this 5 milestone process. Really, the key to it is this milestone 3, and that's establishing a climate and energy action plan. It builds off of what's called a baseline at milestone 1. So it takes that a year in the past and says, how much energy have we been using? What does that look like in terms of emissions? And what are the opportunities to become more energy efficient as a way to, one, both reduce those emissions, but also, reduce the energy costs that come with that as well too. And then, as you can see further down that milestone process, it goes about implementing that plan and then monitoring the results. So next slide, please. ICECAP actually, as a partnership, has been around since 2019. So we're now into our 7th year, and we're quite a ways through a lot of those milestones, and a lot of the work to date has focused on that corporate side of things, again, being municipal operations. So within the archipelago anyways, their corporate baseline was back in 2016 as that starting point, and they've set themselves a 30% emission reduction target by 2030. I think we'll see it in the next slide. Next slide, please. Yep, there we go. That they're actually already at a 27% reduction within their operations as of 2024. Now, as you could see by that graph in the last slide, things go up and down each year, but the important thing to take away from that is that from a trend line, they are on track to meeting that emissions reduction target by 2030. So not only have those emissions obviously been reducing, but when we're looking at those energy expenditures piece that I mentioned too, to date, the archipelago has been able to avoid roughly $130,000 in energy costs, dating back to 2016. So that's, direct financial benefits to ratepayers as well as undertaking this work. So it just goes to show that through careful and thoughtful planning, it's possible to reduce your energy costs as well as your emissions at the same time. And the proof is in their operating numbers. Next slide, please. This is just a quick image. There is also a community action plan that's also been developed, and it provides a number of different ways that, say, residents and businesses in any industry, can also work towards similar actions and goals, similar to what they've set for operations as well. Next slide, please. And one of those sort of, I guess you could say, key programs or activities that's come out of this climate action plan that the biosphere is implementing along with the other ICECAP members is what we're called the Energy Saving Support Program. Over the years, we've heard from a number of residents, both within the archipelago as well as within those other communities, that there's a strong need for support in understanding and navigating different government rebates when it comes to the all the different energy efficiency rebate programs that exist. In the past, you may remember the Canada Greener Homes Grant. Now, provincially, there's the Home Renovation Savings Program, and there's dozens other too that are happening at the provincial level. A lot of them are quite complicated. So this support program is really designed to one, help people learn about energy efficiency and conservation. It is quite a technical and complex subject. So where we can support people and just learn how a home works as a system as it relates to energy efficiency, and be able to say self-identify some opportunities to reduce that energy use, save on energy costs, but also in turn reducing emissions. That's what that's helping to do. The second is to help people discover those funding programs. As I mentioned, there's a lot of them. There's over a dozen. And unless you have a really good sense and pulse and are keeping up with all the changes that are being made to these programs, a lot of them can slide under the radar. So this program allows us to basically connect with you on a one-to-one basis, understand what your needs are, and connect you with the most appropriate support rebate program, and one that's applicable and eligible for you as well too. And if needed, we can also help you apply for those programs as well too. Next slide, please. And I believe lastly, this is just a note that within the community, there's a bunch of other events as it relates to climate work that's happening in the archipelago. There is a repair cafe happening later this year. I don't believe we have an official date on it yet, but that's just a note to watch for that coming out on both the GBBs and the archipelago's communications. And then also on Sunday, July 12th at the Starkey Center in Parry Sound, we're going to be holding our third Climate Action Forum. The last couple of years, if you've attended it in the past, we have over 30 vendors, most of them local, showcasing the different sustainable products, solutions, programs they provide. We have local contractors there that do heat pump installations, windows, as well as other similar agencies that can help with some of those government rebate programs. So it's really designed to be this one-stop shop where you can have a learning opportunity to understand, what sustainable solutions are available to you. If you're looking to do some of those energy efficiency retrofits, for example, you can get in touch with energy auditors, those local organizations and companies that actually do the installs, as well as learn about the rebates and programs that can help you to actually pay for all of that. I believe that's my last slide, so I'll turn it over.
Okay, so while I have you all here tonight, I just wanted to take a moment to shout out our Kids in the Biosphere program. So the Township of the Archipelago offers this program in partnership with Georgian Bay Biosphere. It is a free program that provides families with activities to get kids outside and learning about nature. So how it works is families that have an address within the TOA can register for this program starting at the beginning of the summer and then throughout the summer as well. And then they can pick up a free activity kit. And these kits include materials as well as activity instructions. The activities themselves are self-guided and they are designed to last all summer long. And they include all kinds of great things like nature-themed crafts, science experiments, and lots of other great activities designed to get kids outside and exploring. So to register, families can either fill out the online registration form, which will be available on TOA's website and social media come early June, or they can register in person through local volunteers and pick up locations such as the township office, and there will be some select local marinas where you can also get your kits. So keep an eye out on social media and on TOA's website and newsletter come spring so you can know as soon as this program launches this year and get your free kit.
All right. So this has been just a small sample of the environmental programming available through the Township of the Archipelago for ratepayers. And we hope that you've learned something and that you're inspired and you want to get involved and take action somehow. So here's a list of just a few of the ways that you can get involved. If there isn't already an LPP or Lake Partner Program volunteer in your area, we encourage you to sign up and contribute to local data in your area. That's super easy to do, and it's easy to check to see if anyone is monitoring in your area. And Stacey's going to put a link in the chat for that. Next up, connect with an energy specialist. So Ben just shared with us the super exciting new energy support program. Stacey has put a link in to access more information on that. Registration, as Stacey just mentioned, for Kids in the Biosphere Kit, really awesome way to get the young ones in your lives involved and excited about the environment. Another way is through iNaturalist. So iNaturalist is a free app you can use to submit your species observations. Every observation can contribute to biodiversity science, from the rarest butterfly to the most common backyard weed. And GBB has our very own iNaturalist project, and you can contribute data directly to this project very simply through the iNaturalist app. And we have complete instructions on how to do that on our website. And Margaret mentioned this one as well in her presentation, EdMaps. This is a web-based mapping system for documenting invasive species and pests and their distributions. It's fast, it's easy to use, and it provides really helpful information. Mapping invasive species is the first step towards their control or eradication. So this is really key. If you spot invasive species while you're out and about, please do use EdMaps to report those sightings. And finally, keep an eye out for TOA events this summer. These events are advertised through TOA social media, as well as Ratepayer Association newsletters, or e-blasts and their social media accounts. We always reach out to our contacts and make sure we're getting that information out there so that folks know about these events. And of course, we encourage you to check out GBB's events page as well for even more events happening within the region. Just want to say big thanks, Chimigwech, to everyone who attended tonight. And we will be sharing the recording and those links, so please feel free to share those widely with folks who you think would benefit knowing a little bit more about what the Township of the Archipelago is up to in partnership with GBB. Thanks again, and good night.